Good evening everyone and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round 5 of the Division 3 season. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Car Mentalist, always taking you through the action this season once again. And once again joining me in the commentary box for the 5th time this season, it is TTG Conti. How are you doing, mate?
I am doing really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you. Coming into round 5 of the season, it feels like that. It's crazy to think that we're on round 5 already. We're already 5 weeks into the championship. It doesn't feel like we've been going for that long, even including the pre-season. But coming into round 5 of the championship, we've had quite a few topsy-turvy races, and obviously coming into Canada, another completely different track. What are you expecting from today?
Yeah, a lot of overtakes. I mean, it's in my opinion a great track to race on. You've got some really narrow parts and a couple of straights. So I'm hoping for a really good race with a lot of clean overtakes and a lot of action.
Absolutely, yeah. If anyone knows me that's watching this stream, they will know that I absolutely adore this track myself as well. I think this is probably one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, on the game and in real life, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And like you say, it is a great track to overtake on, so there should be a lot of overtaking opportunities. Just looking at the standings coming into round 5 of the season, it is F1 AMG that still leads the championship after round 4. He leads on 104 points after, to call it what it is, absolutely dominating the Monaco Grand Prix last time out, winning by over half a minute. Jonas is in second in the championship after starting outside the top 10, I believe, in Monaco, working his way onto the podium in the end. He's 20 points behind, though, at this point in the championship. Bircher is third ahead of Jan, who's moved up to fourth after his first podium of the season in Monaco. Steve is in fifth ahead of Caesar sixth, Jay Bogan seventh, Isotopic in eighth, Mishiro in ninth, and Simply Superman is level on points with Mark. They are joint 10th in the championship on 36 points. But looking at the standings that we have so far, we discussed this a little bit before we got going, but it's crazy to think we're only 4 rounds into the season and F1 AMG has put such a stranglehold on the championship already.
Yeah, he's doing absolutely fabulous. I mean, great racing from him. But the good thing for the other guys is he isn't here today, so Jonas could jump him on points if he finishes on the podium today.
Yeah, like you say, if he finishes first or second in the championship, obviously we run a different point system for this championship. So if he wins the race, it's 30 points and it's 25 points for second. So that will put Tejonis into the lead of the championship if he finishes in the top 2. If he finishes third, him and F1 AMG, barring a fastest lap point, will be level on points going into the 6th round of the championship. And it's fair to say, at this point in the championship, would you agree that those two really are in a race of their own for the championship?
Yeah, in a way they are. I mean, it's only 20 points, but on the other hand, Batch is only 20 points behind T. Jonas, and we're running another point system here, so everything's still open. But yeah, they're gapping them slightly at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, they are gapping them quite a bit. Birch is in third in the championship. He's had a fairly consistent run this season, has Bircher. He's finished fourth, I believe, in 3 of the first 4 rounds of the season. So he's come close to finishing on the podium, but not quite had the opportunity to get there. But another person to talk about in the championship standings is Jan. Jan had a really good pre-season, but he struggled in the opening races. But his Monaco race in the end, pulling off a soft medium strategy that not really anyone else was able to do, that is really a breakthrough for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really incredible. Don't know how he managed to do that on the strategy he did. Really conservative on tires, and yeah, he's coming back now. He's fourth in the championship, and just a couple of good results in the future, and we can see him in the top 3.
Absolutely, yeah. He is only 6 points behind Bircher coming into this round, so if he has a good result and beats Bircher, he'll be up into the top 3 in the standings. Speaking of standings, we'll look at the manufacturer's standings quickly as well before we get going for the first lap of qualifying. Mercedes lead the way on 167 points ahead of Williams and second on 126, and Haas are third on 102. Red Bull, I think we've really cursed them this. I know I have. We've really cursed them this season because we come into this season expecting quite a bit of Red Bull. They are fourth in the standings, so they're still in the top half of the manufacturers, but they're only on 92 points. They are well off the back of the likes of Mercedes and Williams. It's really been a struggle for them so far this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and yeah, the sad thing is, Mishiro is yeah, he's two-time former champion. He's a good driver, but yeah, just he's struggling a bit with his driving consistency. So that's probably why. And Steve, yeah, Steve is just performing quite okay, I think. but just not Mashiro. What Mashiro's not what I expected from him beforehand.
Yeah, he's had good pace throughout the season, but it's just not come together for him in the race. But we're going to ride on board with Jan in the Mercedes. He's going to be the first person to set a lap in qualifying here at Canada. Look for a 1 minute 8 maybe, a low 1 minute 8 for qualifying pole today. Comes into the second corner of the track. There's a lot of low grip around this track. It is very easy to lose the car on traction. It is obviously a street circuit, so expect to have low grip. He's keeping well away from the curves, making sure he doesn't invalidate his time. A little bit of understeer midway through the chicane. Comes to the end of the first sector. It's a 19.8. Now into the second chicane on the track. A lot of chicanes around Canada. This track basically is chicanes and hairpins, it feels like, as he comes onto the second DRS zone on the track, down towards turn 8 and 9 as he comes into the corner. Doesn't want to hit the curb too hard on the inside. It can bounce you offline. It's very, very neat, but it's very conservative at the moment. Not pushing the extremities of the track or pushing the car on traction either. Comes now down into the hairpin. Important to get a really, really good run out of here for a slingshot onto the back straight and the third. And probably best overtaking opportunity on the track in the third DRS zone. Here he goes then, opens the DRS now down the back straight. Look for him to break at about the 100 metre point before the chicane and the Wall of Champions. A very iconic corner in real life. So easy to invalidate on the inside of this corner. Again, very neat and tidy from Jan, not pushing the car too hard, making sure he's getting a banker in. And Jan crosses the line. It's only, though, a 1 minute 9.9. That is quite a way off what we're expected to see for pole, and immediately Mark does a 1 minute 9.1 and goes 0.8 of a second faster, but still not into the 1 minute 8, which is what we're expecting for pole today.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at Mashiro. Sorry to butt in. Mashiro 1 minute 9.1 on the mediums. That's a brilliant lap time for Mashiro.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we went online. We're expecting a low 1.8 in this division. It would surprise me if they would do a 1.7. But yeah, Jan really conservative round. Just wanted to get a feeling for the track, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had quite a few people cross the line, but they've all invalidated their runs. Isotopic, Lighty and Steve have all invalidated their first runs in qualifying. We've got one of the Alpha Tauris coming up to the line. That is Flores. It's only a 10.1, but he's on the mediums as well. So look for him to improve as the session goes on. Sean crossed the line. He's on the mediums as well, but he also invalidated. We've got Simply Superman coming up to the line. He had a great performance last time out in Monaco, and he did in Zandvoort as well. He crosses the line, and he takes provisional pole. 1 minute 8.9 for Simply Superman, the first man into the 1 minute 8. As I was saying, Simply Superman, he obviously joined the season late, but joining in Zandvoort and in Monaco, he's had 2 good races and he's already into the top 10 in the standings. He could really be a threat this weekend.
Yeah, he could. I mean, we all saw last week that he could really defend. It's really hard to overtake him. So if he can get a good quali in like he did last week and the week before, I believe he did as well. Yeah, you could really get a good result.
Absolutely, yeah. Focky, meanwhile, jumps into second place in the Haas car. He's struggled the last 2 weekends. He had a relatively decent start to the season, but really lacked pace in Zandvoort and wasn't really anywhere in the Monaco race. Kind of stuck with his teammate towards the lower end of the top 10 for the majority of the race. He jumps up to the front row now. 0.009 of a second faster than Mark, but still 0.2 of a second behind Simply Superman. His teammate Bircher, only 6th, a 1 minute 9.9 for him. Looks like it was a very conservative lap, much like the one from Jan. He goes into 6th. Sean goes now into 8th on a 1 minute 10.6 on his second lap on the medium tyres. But again, a lot of people invalidating their times. We've got the Gort on a lap, but he's invalidated as well in the Mercedes, and he's already backed off. So first run down, we're 6 minutes into the session, and not even only half the field have been able to set a valid lap time so far.
Yeah, Lighty is doing another lap now. He invalidated 2 laps on the tires he's on now. He's really struggling this season. I expected a bit more from him. He's a pretty good driver. He was really consistent back in the day, but yeah, really struggling this season to get a good result in.
Yeah, he's really struggled for outright speed. He showed relatively good outright speed. I think it was at Zandvoort, but the race again, it just didn't come together for him. He got involved in an incident about halfway through, and he's just understeered there through the Wall of Champions and invalidated another run. It would have only been a 1 minute 10 flat for Lighty. That is on his 3rd lap on those soft tyres, so I imagine he can go quite a bit faster than that as he misses turn 1 completely. We've got both Williams and both Red Bulls coming out of the pit lane together, it looks like. I think that's actually yeah, both of the Williams are out onto the track, I believe. Yeah, to Jonas and Jay Bogan. Jay Bogan back, meanwhile. Jay Bogan had a great first round to the season and a fairly decent Vietnam, but hasn't been in the championship since, so he's probably going to be wanting to make up for lost time.
Yeah, he missed last week out. We all have seen that he's pretty quick around every kind of track.
Mm.
So yeah, I really expect him to be high up in the quali and in the race as well today.
Absolutely, yeah. He was the first repeat podium sitter of the season. Had 2 third places in both of the first rounds. Hasn't been able to take part in the races since, so he'll be wanting to get back on it as quickly as possible. We've got people then just starting their next laps. We're riding ball with Kieran in the McLaren, sorry. He's on a lap. Let's see what he can do by the end of the second sector. We want to be in about 40-second range coming across the line, and it's a 40.8 from Kieran, so it's a relatively decent lap. This is looking like it might be a low 1:09 at this point, which will put him at the front of the field. Gort's gone into 5th place on his second lap on the soft tyres. Let's see what Kieran can do as he comes down the back straight now, coming up towards the final chicane. See if he can nail this final chicane, or whether he's another one that comes unstuck and invalidates his time. The AlphaTauri in front moves into the pit lane, so that's not any problem. But too much curb there on the second part of the chicane, and he's invalidated his time, so that's another one falling foul. It would have been a 1:08.6, it would have put him on pole. That was with a big cut though at the chicane, so I'm not quite sure if that is representative enough, but still an 8.6. Kieran looks like he's got good pace if he can get the lap together. Looking at who else is on a lap, the Topic is on a lap. He's had really good pace recently. Unfortunately, Monaco didn't go too well for him after contact late in the race, but he is currently on a lap. He's 40.8 at the end of the second sector, so matching Kieran at that point in the lap. Let's see what he can do in the final chicane. Can he keep it on the road? He does. A little bit of understeer, not too committed to the curb. Mashiro, I believe, is starting a lap on the soft tyres now, as Topic goes to the front of the field, exactly a 1/10 of a second faster than Simply Superman. These two have been a great addition to this league, and in the past 3 rounds, these two have been completely inseparable so far. Mark improves to 3rd, but like I was saying, Isotopic and Simply Superman have been inseparable in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, always behind each other, always, not really battling with each other.
As Mashiro, look at that. Mashiro goes on to pole position with a 1:08.5, his first lap on the soft tyres, and already 3.5 tenths clear of the rest of the field. Mashiro looking like he wants to get his championship up and going. Steve crosses the line in the other Red Bull. It's only an 18.1, so he's obviously made a mistake somewhere on the lap, but an amazing lap for Mashiro, and everyone else is going to have to try and catch him now.
Yeah, they have. It's really promising now from Mashiro. But we saw in the past that his quali was quite good, and he qualified on P1, 2, or 3. And in the race, it didn't go his way. So let's hope he can have a good race as well now.
Absolutely. We'll ride with the Haas cars. Both Williams have invalidated another run. They haven't set a time in this session as of yet. Jonas has really struggled in qualifying recently. He hasn't been able to get right to the front of the field. He's qualified to the low end or outside of the top 10 in all of the last 3 rounds that we've had in the championship. Let's have a look, see how the Haas cars are doing. We've also got, I believe, Simply Superman. He's just started another run, so let's see what he can do, whether he can improve on his place. We'll ride a ball with Bircher as he comes down to the end of the second sector. He's the first of the 2 Haas cars on a lap, but he's invalidated now on the inside of the chicane, so we'll move over to Focky, see if he can improve. He's not invalidated so far. 0.5 tenth up in the first sector on his personal best. By the end of the second sector, though, 1.8 seconds down, so he's obviously made a mistake somewhere in the middle sector. So both Haas cars not going to be improving. Just goes to show that this track, it is incredibly difficult to get a clean lap around here. Steve improves to 8th on his second lap on the soft tyres, but it's so difficult to get a clean lap in here.
Yeah, there are a couple of corners, and especially the last chicane before the start to finish straight. It's really easy to invalidate your time there or get penalties, so that's the thing to look out for as well in the race. Penalty situation with everybody. But yeah, difficult track to get a really good time in, and most of the time it goes wrong where you want to take a corner too conservative, too slow, and you mess up your steering input.
Absolutely, yeah. Simply Superman in 3rd place with a 1:08.9. It's only slightly off the back of Isotopic. He's slightly improved on his time, but isn't able to get back ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. Did he stay in 3rd for the time being? Who else have we got on a lap? I believe Lighty's on a lap at the moment in the Ferrari. 41.3 at the end of the second sector, so this isn't the most competitive of laps, but he keeps it on the road. It's going to be a valid lap time. We've got a yellow flag. I think one of the Williams cars.
Yeah, Jay Bogan. I was on board with him. He was on his way for a really good time. It was his 3rd lap. I was surprised he didn't come in, but it looked like he ran out of fuel or something. It was really going slow.
Yeah, he's got the fuel light on by the looks of it on his dash, so it looks like he might have run out of fuel. So hopefully he can get back to the pits in time to set another lap. But yeah, both Williams cars down currently in 15th and 16th, not the session they would have wanted. Lighty, meanwhile, improves inside the top 10, so 1 minute 9.3 from Lighty. That's much more like it as Sean now goes 9th to 1 minute 9.3, 0.02 of a second faster than Lighty. I'd probably say Lighty and Sean are probably the ones that have struggled the most in qualifying this season, but this will be promising at the fact that they're actually relatively close to the rest of the field here.
Yeah, and yeah, if you see Bashiro to Bertje, and I believe Bertje can go faster than he did now. It's within 1.5 seconds. So yeah, really close together again. And Lighty and Sean really coming every race they drive. They're coming closer to the guys higher up. So starting to get a feel for it.
Absolutely, yeah, it's starting to come together for them now. Kieran's on another lap. He's not invalidated as of yet. He's coming up to the final chicane, which is where he invalidated last time. He passes Jay Bogan's slow car down the straight. It's a 1 minute. It's a 40.8 at the middle sector point again. So once again, a good middle sector from Kieran. This could put him into the top 5, but again, invalidates at the chicane. Too much curb on the inside, and his time's not going to be allowed. He crosses the line. It would be a 1 minute 8.6 for the second lap in a row. So that would have put him on the front row. So Kieran seems to have really, really good pace around here, but cannot keep the car within the confines of the road, and is struggling to set a valid lap time, still down in 14th. If he isn't able to set a qualifying time though, he will be one to look out for in the race. It looks like he's got really, really good pace around here.
He does, he absolutely does. But yeah, even though I hope he can get it right in the race then, and what I'm hoping for, I mean, overall strategy here is soft, medium, medium. Is maybe try starting on the hards and do a different strategy than the rest.
Absolutely, yeah, trying to do something different, maybe something that may work out pretty well for a lot of drivers, and actually, yeah, like you say, that it could work brilliantly if you start on something different. A 19.4 in the first sector for Tejonis. Tejonis is on the medium tyres, so look out for Tejonis. If he can get into the top 10 on a set of medium tyres, that could be really, really crucial for his race. Let's see what he can do. He's going to be the next person to cross the line as he comes through the middle part of the lap. Can he keep it within the road? Oh, a lot of oversteer, massive slide. How on earth he held onto that, I do not know, but that's going to cost him quite a bit of time. 41.6 at the end of the second sector. He is way off where he needs to be after that little mistake, but that is crazy car control from Tejonis. I mean, hats off to him for being able to hold on to it, but it just doesn't look like this is going to work out for him at the moment. We'll stay on board with him until his lap finishes and see where he can go, and see when he crosses the line. Does he continue with this lap, or does he dive into the pit lane? It looks like he's going to continue with the lap, so he throws it through the final chicane, nice and neat through there, carried good momentum and didn't invalidate his time. What is the time going to be for Tejonis? It's only a 9.7, so it only goes P11. He's going to have to rush to get back into the pit lane as well. So I think even without that mistake, it would have been difficult for Tejonis to keep inside the top 10, but it's worth going for something different.
Yeah, definitely is. But he has some pretty quick hands. How he saved that car from not going into the wall there, incredible. But yeah, he's kind of stuck now on these mediums, because I don't think he has the time to come back into the pitch, change his tires, do an out lap, and then a quali lap. So I think this is it for him.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to wait and see what he can do, but like you say, it's going to be very, very tight for him to get back to the pit lane. I'm going to ride with Caesar. Caesar again struggling in qualifying. For Caesar, if he's not on pole, he's not setting a competitive time for Caesar. It's very up and down so far. He's obviously the second winner of the season. He won in Vietnam in a pretty dominant fashion in the wet conditions, but other than that, Caesar's not really had a good finish so far this season. So let's see if he can try and get back to the front like he was in Vietnam, coming through the second sector. A little bit of understeer there, maybe took too high of a gear, didn't go down into fourth, and that might have cost him a little bit of time. By the end of the second sector, it's a 40.9, so it is relatively competitive, but this might put him around his teammate. It's not really going to challenge Mashiro at the front of the field here. Mashiro is still pretty comfortable out front on an 8.5. Here comes Caesar. Does he finish a lap, or does he come in and put a fresh set of softs on? He's got one of the Mercedes cars in front of him. It looks like the Mercedes might not get out of the way in time though for the chicane. It's the Gore, and he's not going to get out of the way in time. That might have compromised Caesar. Caesar looks a little bit distracted there, and he was very, very wide in the second part of the chicane, and it's a 9 flat for Caesar. He goes directly behind his teammate, but he'll be thinking that he could have got more out of that.
Yeah, he probably does. It startled him a bit that the Gord was on the racing line. He obviously didn't know what the Gord was going to do, if he was going to come in or start a lap. But yeah, I think he can do better. I mean, the first 2 sectors looked okay, but yeah, still P5. His race pace is okay, so starting from P5 isn't that terrible at all.
Absolutely not. No, it's not. It's not a disaster. And like you said earlier on, it's relatively easy to overtake around this track, so you could see him work his way forward. Rideable with Gort then, he's on a lap, he's 0.2 per second up on his personal best by the end of the second sector, but a little bit of understeer there. Oh, Steve has retired in the pit lane. Mishiro's on a lap at the moment, I believe. Has he made a mistake in the first sector?
No, he's really quick. He's 6 tenths up on his time, so if he can keep this up, it's going to be a 1-7.
That'll be an incredible time if Mashiro can pull it off. Here comes Gort through the final chicane. He invalidates at the final chicane. So he was up on his time. This would have put him maybe ahead of Mark, but it's not going to happen. It's a 1 minute 8.8 actually. It would have put him ahead of Simply Superman and into third, but invalidated at the final chicane, so that's not going to happen for him. His teammate Jan is in the final sector now, but he's also invalidated at the chicane. So we'll ride with our current pole sitter Mashiro. He's 0.4 of a second up on his personal best at the moment. This is an incredible lap for Mashiro. If he can keep it within the road, he does. It's very, very neat through the chicane. Can we see a man into the 1 minute seconds? It'll be amazing if he can pull it off. Not quite. It's an 8.2 though. He lost time in the final sector to his personal best, but what a lap for Mashiro. He's 6.5 tenths clear of everyone else in the field at the moment. If he can keep this pace up in the race, I don't see really anyone challenging him at this point.
No. I mean, great quali lap. Few little mistakes. He was 6 tenths up on his time in the first sector, but yeah, overall an 8.2. It's what we expected when we talked about on forehand. So yeah, great quali lap and 6.5 tenths up on isotopic. It's incredible. It's such a huge gap.
It is a massive gap around a relatively short track. Mark, meanwhile, is quite up on his time. He was about 0.4 of a second up on his personal best. He comes to the line. He's not going to beat Mashiro, but it's an 8.5. Good lap for Mark. He goes right in that gap in between Mashiro and Isotopic. Jay Bogan qualifies P9 and then immediately retires from the session. Lighty's in the wall as well, so he's not going to be improving. Mark up to the front row. Isotopic is on a lap though. He's slightly up in the first sector. We've got one other Mercedes coming to the line. That's Gort finishing his second run, but he's actually invalidated again, so he's not going to be improving. It looks like Kieran will be the next person to cross the line, but he's invalidated for the third time. And it was a 40.8 at the end of the second sector, so he was looking like he could get maybe into the top 5 relatively easily. It's not going to happen for him, so he'll start in 16th on the grid. Isotopic is 2.5 tenths up on his personal best, coming to the final sector, so he could take back that front row grid slot from Mark. It looks like no one's going to challenge Mashiro at this point unless anyone is able to put in a stellar lap at the end of the session. Here comes Isotopic to the final chicane. How much speed can he carry through here? A lot of speed through there. Nice and neat. Doesn't it invalidate? Here he comes to the line. Is he going to be able to get back onto the front row? It's an 8.3. Wow. Brilliant final sector from Isotopic, and he retakes second place on the grid. That is a great qualifying from him, within 0.2 of a second of Mashiro as well. Simply Superman has dived into the pit lane. He's not going to be improving on P4. Focky's the next man to come to the line, but it looks like he might have been held behind Caesar possibly. Caesar's coming up to the line to start a lap. Focky goes P5 on a 9 flat. Caesar's just started another run by the looks of things, so he will be the last person I think to set a time in the session. I think actually he might be an AI at this point. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see. I think he might be an AI actually. Oh no, he's not. He's actually invalidated the chicane, so it doesn't matter. He will not be improving on his time anyway. So that is the end of qualifying. In the end, Mashiro takes pole, but Isotopic, with an amazing final sector on his final run, was able to get within 0.2 of a second. We've got a race on.
Yeah, and really surprising. I mean, I wouldn't have put my money on him before we started the season, not even as a dark horse, but he's doing really great, really good. And every race he drives, he's just improving massively on himself. He's really enjoying himself, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. The first round of Vietnam was his first round of the season, and he was running at, I believe, the bottom end of the top 10 for most of the rest. I think he ended up finishing that race in around 9th or 10th place. And then Zandvoort was a real breakthrough for him. He was running around in the podium spots for the whole race. And then obviously last time out was a good race for him before the contact late in the race. He was getting a little bit held up, I believe, behind Simply Superman. But he still had a brilliant race last time out in Monaco as well. And now he's on the front row. And with F1 AMG not here, that is prime opportunity for a lot of people to catch back up into the championship. And maybe Isotopic and Mashiro can throw themselves into that championship battle with a good result here.
Yeah, and if you look at the lower half of the top 10, it's pretty close there. So definitely, they definitely can.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's run through the final qualifying order. It's Mashiro ahead of Isotopic on the front row and Mark in third. A 0.4 of a second gap then back to fourth place, Simply Superman. the top three kind of in a class of their own after qualifying here. Simply Superman in fourth ahead of Focky in fifth, better qualifying from him, ahead of Caesar in sixth, Jan in seventh ahead of his Mercedes teammate Gort in eighth, Jay Bogan only ninth and Steve 10th in the session, Sean 11th ahead of Lighty, Tejonis only 13th, another poor qualifying for him, ahead of Flores in 14th, Bircher only 15th, and Kieran, who could have been in the top 5, wasn't able to set a valid lap time, so he will start from the back of the grid. Obviously, everyone outside the top 10 will have free reign of strategy, but once again, Tejonis with a poor qualifying.
Yeah, yeah, and he's the only one who can, not the only one, but he's closest to F1 AMG. So yeah, a bit disappointing from his side.
Absolutely, yeah. Tejonis, we know, has really, really good race pace, and he's able to get on the podium. He's probably in contention for a podium at pretty every race he enters, but he really does make it hard for himself. I don't think he's qualified inside the top 5 since the first round of the season. He's really, really struggled to get to the front of the field. I think his highest qualifying since, obviously, Australia, where he took pole position, his highest qualifying since then has been a 7th or an 8th place, which just goes to show that it's really not worked for him in qualifying, whether that's just setup reasons or whether just not hooking the lap up. He doesn't quite have the raw speed of other people.
No, no, not over one lap, but in the race it's a completely different story. I mean, he really has race pace. First corner, he usually has 1 or 2 overtakes already, and he finishes up quite high almost every time. So, yeah, if he can improve on his qualifying, yeah, he will be definite title contender, and he can make it harder for F1 AMG in the championship.
Absolutely, yeah. Tejonis, if he can sort out qualifying, he would be a real threat for quite a few dominant races like we've seen with F1 AMG. He's such a good qualifier and has good race pace to back it up, which is why he's dominated a couple races so far this season already. But here we go then into the 35 lap race around Canada. Like you said earlier on, it is regularly a 2-stop strategy round here, unless anyone has gone for something different outside the top 10. Doesn't look like they have. It looks like most of the people outside the top 10 will be starting on the mediums, apart from Flores in 14th in the Alpha Tauri. He'll be starting on the medium tyres, but this is really the first track this season, and probably one of the only tracks on the calendar, where a 2-stop strategy is the faster of the 2 strategies we have. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic, because people are going to be pitting relatively early on, and it's the people that get through the traffic best that are really going to prevail here.
Yeah, yeah, and you must be a bit lucky with safety cars and stuff like that, but because that could really destroy your strategy that you thought up before you start. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what they can do, and the difficult thing, I believe, in a 2-stopper is pitting at the right moment. If you go a couple of laps extra, you're losing so much time, which you can't get back with a good stint after that. So yeah, really pitting at the right time. Don't drive around with destroyed tires. It's really important here.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you say, it's important. It's important to get into the pit lane at the right time. Look for a lot of people to try and do the undercut here. The undercut is for a short track with relatively small amount of corners. The undercut here is incredibly powerful. A new set of tyres really, really gives you a good advantage. But before we get going for the 5th round of the season, Conti, who do you think is going to finish on the podium? What would you say your top 3 is for today?
Yeah, I hope I don't curse him now, but I'm going to be Mashiro for P1. Mark P2, and I stop it P3.
Yeah, so top 3 just in a different order. Honestly, I would probably agree with you on that one. I'd say the only person below that to look out for in this race, I'd say, would be Simply Superman or Caesar. I think they could maybe challenge for a podium if they get off to a good start and avoid trouble. I think they could challenge for the podium. But yeah, my money's on Mashiro as well. But I've cursed him a number of times this season already, so he's probably going to hate me for that. But here we go then. The 5 lights are going on ahead of the drivers. Who's going to get the best start for the Canadian Grand Prix? Long hole, but the lights are... They go, and it looks a fairly even start at the front of the field. It looks like Simply Superman in 4th has had a really, really good start. He's trying to challenge Mark down into turn 1. Here we go into the corner. There's a lot of contact further back. That's Focky, I think, that's gone into the wall off the front of one of the Mercedes cars. I think that might be Gort that's picked up the damage. So Focky already down to the back of the field. Caesar's down at the back of the field as well, is he? Or that might be a timing glitch on my end. I'm not quite sure. We've got a virtual safety car just through the first sector alone. The top 2 got off the line nicely. Mashiro and Isotopic gapped the rest of the field, as did Mark. But behind them, absolute chaos, and it's both Haas cars at the back of the field now. Kieran's had a good start, but Birchie hasn't made his way forwards, and Focky ended up in the wall off the front of one of the Mercedes cars, and I believe, let me just double check which Mercedes car it was, just looking at front wing damage, I think it is Jan. Yeah, it's Jan, podium sitter last time out, missing a lot of his front wing, so they've obviously come into contact, which is bizarre to think because they were relatively spaced out on the grid.
Yeah, they were. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't see it really close up or anything, but really weird incident. Probably someone just outbroke himself and missed his braking point. Or don't know what else it could have been.
Absolutely, yeah, that's really going to compromise Jan's strategy. He's going to have to come into the pit lane, but because of that, the top four have massively gapped Gort, who will be in P5 when Jan comes into the pit lane. So the top four are away and gone. It's Mashiro that still leads at the end of lap 1. Isotopic holds on to second. Mark stays in third place ahead of Simply Superman in fourth. They've not swapped positions in the top four. Below then, Gort is up into fifth. Sean has had an incredible start. He's sixth and on the medium tyres, and Tejonis from 13th on the grid is in 8th. Like you said, he has a massive slide out of turn 2 once again. Tejonis really struggling for traction on those medium tyres around here. But like you said, he is very, very good at making up places on the first lap. He's somehow able to avoid all the carnage, and he's already into the top 8. Further below them, Lighty's up to 9th and Flores is up to 10th. So a lot of people further down, especially those that are running on the medium tyres, have had brilliant starts.
Yeah, and don't forget Kieran P11. But T-Jonitz, it's like he has some kind of spider senses or something. But even if there's chaos all around him, he always drives just through it and nothing happens to him.
Absolutely. I don't know if it's luck or skill at this point, because it's hard to differentiate between the two, because Tejonis seems to qualify at the back and then there's chaos in front of him and he avoids it every single time. He's the luckiest man on the earth, but he's not quite got the pace of Steve at the moment. He's falling away a little bit from Steve in 8th place. Tejonis will be in a race of his own. He's second behind Steve, but 3 seconds ahead of Lighty. Lighty's already into the pit lane, so I wonder if he's picked up damage somewhere in that Ferrari. That moves Flores up to 9th and Kieran up into 10th. Both AlphaTauris have had great starts to this race. They've made their way from the back of the grid up to the midpoint in the top 10. But at the front of the field, it's still Mashiro that leads. Isotopic holding on nicely at the moment. Mark in third ahead of Simply Superman in fourth. 2-second gap back to Gort in fifth, who is being hounded by Sean. These medium tyres do look very strong because Sean is having, at the moment, I would say, I know we're only 3 laps into this race, but Sean at the moment is definitely having his best showing in terms of qualifying pace, and now looking like he's had good race pace as well. Able to hold on to the back of Gort for the time being on the harder compounded tyres, and if he can move on to maybe 2 sets of softs at the end, or another set of mediums and then a set of softs right at the end of the race, he could be a real threat for a top 5.
He does. Probably the top guys are gonna, if there's not anything weird with a safety car or something, they're gonna go for a soft, medium. And if you can finish on the softs and stay clear out of trouble, he can do really good. And he can even with the pace he's showing now compared to the soft runners, he can be a contender for the podium today.
He could, absolutely. You have to wait and see what he does and whether he's able to react to safety cars. Well, it looks like Simply Superman's trying to go for a move on Mark in turn 1 round the outside. Has he got the momentum to do so? Mark gives him very little space on the outside of the corner, and Simply Superman has to cut turn 2. Picks up a time penalty for doing so as well. That was a bit forceful from Mark. Simply Superman was entitled to the room. Mark didn't quite leave him enough space. I don't know whether that was intentional, whether he just went too deep into turn 1, but Simply Superman loses out. Both these guys now starting to lose a little bit of time to Mashiro and Isotopic. Simply Superman looks faster than Mark, but a forceful defensive move from Mark, and it's cost Simply Superman time.
Yeah, it does, and it's great news for Isotopic and Mashiro. If Isotopic can stay in Mashiro's slipstream and DRS, Mark is already back in its DRS of Isotopic. But if they keep battling Mark and Simply Superman, it's just a two-way battle. P1 after that.
Absolutely, yeah, it is looking like that is happening at the moment. That little battle, though, between Mark and Simply Superman has meant that the Gort has slightly closed in. It's down to 1.3, so he's nearly within DRS range of Simply Superman now. Just notice, though, Sean, while he's got good pace, has used up pretty much all of his ERS already, and we're only on lap 4. This track, it's very, very difficult to actually save ERS. There's not a lot of heavy braking zones here. The heaviest braking zone, obviously, is for the hairpin. Other than that, most of the corners here are around 3rd or 4th gear, the slowest corners on the track. Sean looks to the inside of turn 1, nearly runs into the back of Gort. He had a lot of overspeed, but isn't close enough to get past the Mercedes. But it does look like he's trying to get round the inside on the exit of turn 2, but again, not close enough and doesn't have the traction to get up the inside before the chicane. So Sean stays in 6th for the time being, but he's got good raw speed in that car, and he's trying to get through pretty quickly. The soft tyres look like they're already burning off Further down the field, then Kieran's up to 9th, Jay Bogan's up to 10th. He's worked his way forwards after a poor start. He's working his way back forwards in this race, back into the top 10. He's past Flores, and Birch is working his way forwards again after starting right at the back of the field. But at the moment, it's kind of leveling out. Sean is definitely the closest person to making an overtake. It's only 0.2 of a second. Wonder if he'll go for a move maybe at the chicane, at the hairpin, sorry, and he's not quite close enough. But Sean is looking at the moment the racist of the guys in the top 10. He's swarming all over the back of Gort, and the medium tyres look very, very strong here.
Yeah, they do, and the soft tires are going off pretty quickly on this track. But the main thing he has to do now is just keep behind him for a couple of laps, save up some ERS, and then you can just breeze by him on the, on the last ERS straight.
Gort, I think that was Mark, was it? There's a lot of front wing on the wall. I think that might be Mark that's picked up some front wing.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Right
He's
side.
whacked the wall, yeah. Absolutely whacked the Wall of Champions. The Wall of Champions seemingly claiming its first victim. It's Mark in third place, and Mark had just picked up his first time penalty of the race as well. It looks like Jay Bogan, I think, has made a mistake there, because he's just been repassed by Flores and Bircher, and he's damaged front wing on both sides. So he's obviously had an incident in the final chicane, and he's left the session as well. Hopefully he can rejoin in this race and get back going again. But that is a shame for him. He's having a bit of a torrid comeback to the season so far, is Jay Bogan. But Mark in third place, the first big mistake from someone at the front of the field. He picked up a time penalty, and now he's picked up damage, and he's already lost DRS range to Isotopic. Mashiro in the last lap, 1.6 seconds clear of Isotopic. I don't know if Isotopic has made a mistake somewhere, but Mashiro's suddenly started going. Look at in the background, Tejonis down the inside of Steve at the hairpin. Steve caught napping, really didn't even defend the move. Tejonis slides down the inside and gets past and gets DRS as well. Sean is all over the back of Gort once again, but Sean with no ERS just cannot get past Gort. Down into the chicane, he's going to look to the inside. Is he late enough on the brakes? He thinks about it, but doesn't go for the move. Makes Gort run a little deep into the chicane, though. Sean picks up a time penalty. Sean runs into the back of Gort. Gort was so slow coming out of the corner. Mark and Steve already into the pit lane at the end of lap 6. Here comes Sean down the inside once again. Gort leaves in the space, but still, Sean with no ERS isn't able to get the move stick. They're kind of half-hearted moves at the moment, and it's meant that Tejonis has caught these guys very, very quickly. Sean looking the faster of the two cars, but cannot get the move stuck at the moment.
Yeah, I was really afraid he wanted to do it in the last chicane, the overtake, but luckily he didn't do it. But yeah, Tejonis is really on the back of Sean now because of the battling between the guard and Sean, and the guard really struggling to keep in front of Sean, and Sean really needs to save up his ERS, or he's going to be stuck there until the guard is going to pit.
Yeah, and Gort picks up a time penalty as well. That's one thing to look out for in this race, is that penalties are very, very common around Canada. Very easy to pick them up. So that's going to play a part in this race. Tejonis with a big lock-up in the background, but he's nearly into the back of Sean coming out of the hairpin. Tejonis, it's really worked into his hands. Starting 13th, he's already 6th in this race, and he's not really that far off the lead of the race. It's about 6 or 7 seconds to the race leader. He's still within a shot of a podium here if he can keep the pace up. Isotopic and Simply Superman both into the pit lane for their stops, trying to make sure that they react to Mark's pit stop. Mark obviously though picked up damage, so he'll be having a slow stop. Here comes Sean once again to the inside with no ERS. He's down the inside, but again not quite late enough on the brakes. Gort can just hold it around the outside. Sean really deep into turn 2, trying to get the momentum around the outside of the corner, but it affects his run. Here comes Tejonis down the inside, but again Tejonis can't get the traction and isn't able to get past. Sean trying to go for the move, just doesn't have the overspeed to get it done though, and it's costing them time. Meanwhile, further down the field, Isotopic has come out ahead of Simply Superman. Obviously, Simply Superman actually, it looks like he's been almost undercut by Steve. Steve's had an incredible outlap, but it's not quite worked for him. Simply Superman just holds on to the place. Mark a further 3 seconds back after changing his front wing. But yeah, once again, Sean cannot get the move stuck, and Gort holds on to second place for the time being.
Yeah, and Lighty already on his second stop now, so unfortunate race for him again.
Or Tejonis, once again down the inside of the hairpin. It looks like it's his move for this race, but not quite close enough. He had a look, but Sean closed the door on him. Fair enough from Sean. He had the line from the corner, but that looks like it's Tejonis' move in this race. Tejonis' favourite overtaking place is the hairpin, trying to catch people out before the straight. Once again, Sean trying to get past. Gort isn't defending this time. Sean's going to have the momentum. Gort's going to go straight into the pit lane though, so that's going to compromise Sean's run. He picks up a time penalty. Is Tejonis close enough to pounce? Not quite, I don't think, although he's got a lot more overtake in use. Is he going to be able to dive to the inside for turn 1? He's not close enough. Sean takes the lead of the race, but his compromise line is giving him another time penalty. And that was not really smart from Sean. He didn't really recognise that Gort was coming in and compromised his line through the chicane and picks himself a time penalty up. He leads the race, but now Tejonis is right behind him. And Kieran is catching these two hand over fist at the moment in third place. He's taken the gap down from about 6 to about 3 seconds in the last 4 or so laps.
Yeah, and I think this is what T. Jonas was waiting for the guy to pit, and he has so much ERS over Sean. Probably next straight he's just gonna breeze by and overtake Sean.
Absolutely, yeah. Mashiro, meanwhile, Flores lets Mashiro through. He doesn't fight Mashiro too hard on that one, so Mashiro's back up into 5th place after his pit stop. He came out comfortably ahead of Isotopic. Mashiro looks like he was able to hold the softer tyres a lot longer than a lot of the people around him, and it's paid dividends. He now has about a 2.5 second gap over Isotopic at the front of the field once again. Look at Sean, has absolutely no straight line speed with the little overtake that he has, and Tejonis is going to absolutely breeze past into the chicane, and Sean, I think, was trying to come into the pit lane. Tejonis has hit the wall as well. Both of them have whacked the wall at the chicane. Tejonis on the exit, Sean on the entry. I think Sean wanted to come into the pit lane and then got caught out by Tejonis coming back onto the racing line, and he darted to hit the wall to miss him. But both of them have picked up damage now, so Tejonis' race is affected, as is Sean's, who's going to replace it in the front wing. Kieran is now in the best shot as the one on the medium tyres. He's the one within the best shout here because he doesn't have any damage. So again, a compromised race for Tejonis as Kieran picks up a time penalty. So I've cursed him as well. As soon as I say something good about Kieran, he picks up a time penalty. But yeah, Tejonis, costly mistake there on the exit of the corner, not really battling anyone, just drove the car into the wall.
Yeah, really weird incident between them. I don't know if they touched. I don't believe they touched, but yeah, it's gonna affect their races massively. And Kieran and also Bercha. I mean, with the relatively fast corners, it's gonna impact you massively. The front wing damage. Even Bercha isn't out of it now.
Absolutely, yeah, but Bircher already a pit stop behind Mashiro. But do remember, Bircher started this race stone dead last. Simply Superman's down the inside of Isotopic at the hairpin. They're all stuck behind Flores. Simply Superman trying to pounce. Flores really slow on the exit of the corner. Isotopic runs into the back of the AlphaTauri man. Here comes Simply Superman down the inside. He's got the momentum on both of the drivers. They go 3 wide down the straight. Steve is in the back as well, trying to get past Flores as quickly as possible, trying to pounce on these two battling. Simply Superman down the inside. They're side by side into the chicane, but Simply Superman makes the move stick. Isotopic has to back out of the move. Here comes Steve now, trying to get down the inside for turn 1. Isotopic doesn't have the straight line speed of the Red Bull. Does he have the momentum into the corner though? Isotopic so late onto the brakes in turn 1, and it pays off. He holds onto the place for the time being. But once again, Simply Superman and Isotopic are inseparable in a race this season, and Simply Superman able to get past Isotopic and moves up into a net 2nd place in the race. Good move.
Yeah, great move, and I don't know how they did it, but no touching, no damage for anyone. They really had to slid in right before the chicane. Great racing from them, and Steve as well. Steve tried to do something, but saw it wasn't his move to do, so he just staying behind those guys, and I think he's gonna let them fight their battle and just wait for an opportunity to maybe overtake them both.
Absolutely, yeah, maybe looking for that. Simply Superman very sideways coming out of the hairpin, trying to put the power down. Simply Superman looks like he's using all of his ERS to try and break DRS, but he's almost completely run out at this point. Steve once again trying to have a look at the back of Isotopic, but not close enough. I don't quite know what's happened to Isotopic's pace. Isotopic was able to keep up with Mashiro in the early phases of the race. Isotopic picks up a time penalty and gets a poor run out of the chicane. Steve is going to pounce. Look at how much straight line speed he has in that Red Bull. He's down the inside, but is Isotopic late on the brakes once again in turn 1? Steve late on the brakes. He's going to force Isotopic out. Steve now passes Isotopic as well. Isotopic had great pace at the start of this race, but as the race has gone on, he's fallen back through the field. He'll be under pressure from Mark next, who's only 2 seconds back. But Isotopic's starting to lose ground, and Steve now up into a net podium place. This is exactly the race that Red Bull needed.
Yeah, but he's I believe he has a couple of penalties already, so that's gonna be playing a factor as well. Maybe Isotopic is just keeping it clean and trying not to get a penalty. And yeah, if you got a penalty-free race here, what happened? Yellow.
That was Lighty just retiring in the pit lane by the looks of things. He just came into the pit, so I think he's had enough today. It's just not gone his way once again. Unfortunately, his season just hasn't really gone his way for him or the Ferrari team. It's a shame to see. Hopefully, he can bounce back next time out. Steve, though, back within DRS range to Simply Superman. I think both.
And Sean.
Yeah, let's have a look. They're still going at it. Yeah, Sean, I think this time has managed to work his way past. Sean has put the soft tyres on for the 2nd stint in the race. He's not left them to the end. So he's going for something a little bit different. He's managed to get past Court this time round, and he's only 2.2 seconds behind Caesar. Caesar obviously pitted at the end of lap 2, I believe, in this race to replace some front wing damage. Sean picks up a time penalty, but he's still somewhat in this race, is Caesar. Currently running in about a net P6 or a P7 in this one, as Mashiro has caught Kieran now for the race lead. But Yeah, as we were saying, Simply Superman and Steve, I think both have the same amount of time penalties. I think Isotopic and Mark both have one less, and I don't think Mashiro has one at all. So, Simply Superman and Steve are under a little bit of pressure here. They may be pushing a little bit too hard as Mashiro clears Kieran to retake the lead of the race. But yeah, Simply Superman and Steve, them pushing is costing them a lot of time in terms of penalties.
Yeah, it does, and most of the times when you start pushing, if you know you have a penalty and you want to get the one behind, it's just going to give you more penalties. It's going to destroy your concentration, and also I hope they just try to forget about the penalties and drive their own race.
Absolutely, yeah. Here's Steve then on the back of Simply Superman. Is he close enough? He's not using his overtake, but he looks like he has more raw speed than Simply Superman. Kieran picks up a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but he's into the pits for his first stop from the medium tyres, so he's in. Let's see where he comes out relative to the pack. Steve on his overtake, he had a look down the inside, but he didn't go for the move in the end. He backed out of it completely, so Steve stays in fourth place for the time being. Simply Superman keeps third. They've caught Bircher now, who's obviously not stopped in this race in the Haas car either. Looking further down the field, Kieran's actually gone for the hard tyres. So Kieran trying the one-stop strategy. Jonas has gone onto the hard tyres as well, so it looks like he's trying to do the same after his early front wing damage. But that's interesting. This is the first time really that I know in my commentary time that I've seen people try the one-stop here. It could work out really well for these two.
Yeah, if you can keep your tires in good condition, it definitely can work. But it's incredibly difficult to make it to the end on the hard tires for these guys, and the pace difference with the medium tires is quite big as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, Tejonis, meanwhile, had another snap coming through turn 9. He kept it out of the wall once again. But Tejonis has absolutely no grip in traction zones. He's really, really struggling. Locks up into the hairpin once again. And his tyres are only 3 laps old, but Kieran's already caught quite quickly these two. And is dragging Focky with him. And Focky's on 12-lap-old medium tyres at this point. We've got a yellow flag somewhere in Sector 2. I think that might be Jan, maybe, that's made a mistake in the second sector. As we've got Bircher into the pit lane, he's in. Let's see what tyres he puts on. Does he go for the one-stop? He is. He is going for the hard tyres as well. So he's going for the one-stop strategy. Got to try something different. So let's see what his pace is relative to the likes of Kieran and Tejonis as well. Mashiro retakes the lead of the race. His tyres are 1 lap fresher than at least Simply Superman and 2 less than his teammate, and he has a 4.5 second buffer. It's going swimmingly well for Mashiro. This is exactly the race that he's been wanting all season. It's almost like a cruise at this point for him.
Yeah, he's really struggling. When he's behind someone, he's struggling and making little mistakes. But when he's driving around in P1, it's just like carefree, and he can do his own thing. And he's gapping Simply Superman, not by big margins, but still he's gapping him every lap a couple of tenths. And yeah, he's driving a really great race today.
Absolutely, and it does look like Mashiro's driving within himself. He's not picked up a time penalty in this one, so it looks like he knows that he's got the raw speed. He's just keeping it on the road, keeping it penalty free, and in case there is a late safety car maybe that closes the pack up. It's working well for him so far. Both of the drivers behind him have 2. Steve gets a great run out of the chicane once again. Is he close enough to Simply Superman to have a go into turn 1? He looks to the inside, but not quite close enough. Caesar gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Sean had just passed him before that, I believe, on those soft tyres, so Sean is back up into 6th place. Let's see if he can catch Mark. He's got good speed at this point and is dragging Gort with him. And both of these two, despite being on older tyres, are dropping the likes of Jonas and Kieran. It doesn't look like the hard tyres are working.
No, it isn't. And I was just on board with Jen a couple of laps. He's really struggling today. We saw him.
That was Jonas again, sorry. Sorry to cut in there. That was Jonas having another massive moment. He's all over the road. These hard tyres really aren't working.
Yeah, and again. Yeah,
my word.
We've seen it a couple of times. Maybe he likes an oversteery setup. I don't know, but he's really struggling, and it's gonna affect your tires as well. All the sliding around.
Absolutely, and I think it just goes to show it's not working. The fact that Focky, whose tyres are 14 laps old, so they will be nearing the 60% mark where they lose time, as Steve actually this time has breezed past Simply Superman before the chicane. So Steve has worked his way up into second. He's had the raw speed over Simply Superman, and he's now been able to get past. We have a Red Bull 1-2 here, so Steve up onto second place, but look how much time he's lost just battling Simply Superman in the last lap. The gap is now 7 seconds between him and his teammate. 2 seconds in a lap that he's lost to his teammate just in 1 lap trying to pass Simply Superman. But yeah, it's going well for Red Bull, but further down for Williams it's going horribly wrong. Jay Bogan in 15th, and Jonas all over the road and being caught by a man on 15 lap old mediums.
Yeah, so really great driving from Focky with 15 laps all tires and
The yellow
another yellow flag.
I think that's for Flores. I think Flores has had a moment coming out of the chicane. He hasn't hit anything, I don't think, but I think he had a little bit of a slide coming out, and he's just about kept it out of the wall. Jan, meanwhile, has lost a lot of his front wing somewhere, so I don't know whether he's come into contact with someone or the wall on his own. But like you said, Jan is really struggling today after his first podium in Monaco last time out. We'd expect a man who did well and to keep it at the walls and run a clean race at Monaco to do the same here at Canada, but it's just not working as Flores. Look at that. So late on the brakes, a little bit of contact, but just sweeps around the outside before the corner. Goes to show that how much front wing damage really costs you in terms of speed around here.
Yeah, it does, especially in the faster
He's trying to come
corners.
back down the
He's
inside.
fine.
He's down the inside, but oh, he's just too late on the brakes coming into the corner. Nearly snaps on the car coming out as well, and Flores is back fast. But I don't know why Jan is fighting this one so hard. He's got so much damage. He's going to be coming into the pit lane. Flores back down the inside once again, but Jan looks like he's trying to go for the overtake coming out of the corner. But he surely should be coming into the pit lane. He has a massive snap, so I don't think he's going to be close enough either. So Jan stays in 14th this time round. Flores holds on to 13th place, but yeah, he's really struggling, as is Jay Bogan. Jay Bogan actually hasn't rejoined the session. He obviously left the session earlier on, hasn't been able to rejoin, so he's running in 15th. Not going well at all for Williams here today. It's gone horribly wrong so far. But further up at the front of the field, Mashiro continues to gap his teammates, now 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's really flying at the moment, Mashiro.
Oh, Simply Superman spun. Oh, the Racing Point man, he's spun and completely lost his front wing. It's gone completely. There's nothing left, not even the wing itself. He's gone round on the exit of the corner and hit the wall. What a shame for running in 3rd place. He's not going to pick up a podium here with that amount of damage. He's going to be coming into the pits, probably going to put the hard tyres on and go to the end. What a shame from him for a possible 3rd place in this race. It's all falling apart once again for Simply Superman.
Yeah, he was doing so good. Really, yeah, really. What you said, shame, shame for him. Incredibly unlucky. Was it his own mistake? Did you catch it?
I think so. I just saw it in the background. I think he just spun purely on his own coming out the corner. Gort, meanwhile, trying to get back past Sean as Sean struggles on the softs, but they make a bit of contact coming into the corner. Gort going to go, oh, there's more contact in turn 2. Gort slides into the side of Sean's car. Sean's broken his front wing. Gort lets him back through, but that's going to cost these guys both a lot of time. Sean with the front wing damage, weaving down the straight as well. Not happy with that move from Gort, so he's going to be coming in probably to put the medium tyres on to go to the end of the race, is Sean, at the end of this lap. But yeah, that is such a shame for Simply Superman, for him to be down into 12th place now after replacing his front wing. He's going to have a task to get back into the top 10 and take these tyres to the end. It's a shame for him because he looked like he could have been on the podium, and again, it's eluded him.
Yeah, he did. And meanwhile, Sean and the guard still, it's always long. They're just stuck together like Isotopic and Simply Superman were last race out, but they're not giving each other an inch. Wow.
No, absolutely not. It's really, not giving each other an inch at all. Like you say, Jonas has now caught these guys after their little bit of a battle, and Kieran's coming along with him. He's not quite got the pace of Jonas at the moment, but Jonas has caught these guys. Here comes Gort down the inside. Steve's into the pit lane already for the Red Bull, so he's in, and he's going to probably put another set of medium tyres on. Sean's also into the pits to replace that front wing, so Steve drops to 4th. Gort's going to be back up to 4th now. Jonas back into the top 5 on those hard tyres. Let's see where Tejonis is relative to Steve as Steve comes out of the pit lane, and Kieran as well. Tejonis coming around turn 2, as is Kieran. Steve is way down the field, a bit further down. He's actually behind Birchie, it looks like. So if Tejonis and Kieran can take these tyres to the end of the race, those two currently are in a net P2 and 3. So if they've got the pace, this could work out for them.
Yeah, and they started from somewhere around the back, so
yeah,
great job from them. And yeah, let's hope the tires are warmed up now and they're used to it, because Jonas isn't looking so oversteery now and looking like a Labrador on every exit, whisking his tail. So yeah, really doing great. And Kieran as well, you said it in quali, he showed really good pace, and it shows in the race now.
Absolutely. It looks like that the hard tyres kind of had to go through a phase where they didn't have a lot of grip, but now that they've passed that phase, it's working for them. They've got the temperature up and they've got a little bit of wear into them, and they look very strong. We've got a yellow flag. That's Jan, I believe, that's spun coming out of the last corner, I think he has. And then a virtual safety car. So I wonder if anyone dives into the pit lane. I don't think they will. I think most of the people that would have been used to that have already passed the pit entrance, so that's not worked. And that's a lot of front wing damage on the inside of the chicane. So Jan spun on his own and completely lost his front wing. What a disastrous way from him, from getting his first podium last time out up to 4th in the championship. He's now running dead last and is on for, I think, his 3rd or 4th pit stop in this race.
Yeah, but still props for him. He's still going around. I hope he doesn't retire in the pits because every position except P20 gives you points. Really unlucky, but yeah, sometimes you have to after these races to come back stronger next race.
Absolutely, yeah. Caesar, meanwhile, comes into the pit lane. He's made use of the virtual safety car to come in and put his other medium tyres on to take him to the end of the race. Jonas, meanwhile, has got past Gort down into turn 8, it looks like. So he's made the move, stick down there. Jan, meanwhile, in the background going off the road. Kieran's caught these guys now as well. He's within DRS range. Is Gort going to come back down the inside? He's not quite close enough. Bit of a lock-up once again from Jonas into the hairpin, but it looks like he might have the place sealed. Gort, though, has a lot of ERS in saving, but Jonas is using his coming out. I wonder if Gort's going to dive into the pit lane. I imagine we'll see him in. We're on lap 22. Jan's retired from the race. He's hit the wall, I think, coming out of the hairpin. I wonder if that triggers any sort of full safety car to sort Gort come in. No, Gort stays out onto the track, so Kieran's going to stay behind him for the time being. Steve has now passed Bert, and in a lap... Oh, Steve just hits the wall coming out of the wall of champions, but gets away with it. But in a lap, Steve has taken 2 seconds out of Kieran. The medium tyres, at least fresh out of the box, are so much faster than the hard tyres.
Yeah, incredible. 2 seconds in a lap. It's really it's a lot because it's not a really long track. So
No.
great from him. And yeah, maybe if Tijonas, the God, and Kieran keep battling, Steve really has a chance to overtake them all. Oh yeah, obviously the God is going to come in on his 13 lap tires, this lap or the next one. But yeah,
Ooh, Steve
he's
picks
just
up his...
doing.
He's picked up his 3rd time penalty, though. That's one thing to remember. Steve has got quite a few time penalties in this race. I think both
Yeah.
Kieran and Jonas only have the one, I think, so far in this one. So that's one thing to look out for. Steve is going to want to get past these guys quickly and gap them. This also helps Steve out a little bit with Isotopic if he's able to pass them. Isotopic, meanwhile, into the pits at the end of lap 22. Mark and Mishiro continue going. I wonder if either of these two are going to risk it and go on a set of softs at the end of the race. If they can take these tyres to lap 25, you can probably take a set of soft tyres to the end. Do you think that strategy would be worth it?
Yeah, I believe so. If I was Mashiro, I wouldn't take too many risks. I would just do the safe thing, and he has the pace. He's showing it on the mediums as well. But yeah, he's driving in P1, and if you're not in P1, like with Kieran and Tijonas, they're trying something different and it works. So yeah, why not try it and maybe it will pay off.
Absolutely, yeah. Try and work something out. It might be good for Mark as well. Obviously, Mark had to come in relatively early. Caesar sets a 1 minute 10.2. What could have been for Caesar if he hadn't got the damage earlier on? It looks like he's had good pace ever since, but he's down in 12th after his 3rd pit stop in this race, I believe. A shame for him that he's so far down the field. Mark at the moment in 2nd place. He obviously picked up that damage earlier on, and it's compromised his strategy ever since, so it might be worth him maybe doing something a little bit different to try and maybe catch the back of the likes of Isotopic and Simply Superman before the end of the race. Obviously, Simply Superman lost his front wing a little bit earlier on, so he's lost a bit of time. He's fallen back behind Isotopic, about 5 and a bit seconds behind. Mishiro's into the pit lane. Yeah, he's into the pit lane, put another set of medium tyres on, so he's not taking the risk. He's only got to take these tyres 12 laps, so he's taken the first set of medium tyres about 15, so he's taken really... He's not really taken any life out of this set of tyres. They can push really to the end of the race now, and he's ahead of the likes of Jonas and Kieran as well, so clean air for Mishiro. He just needs to get to the end of the race now.
Yeah, and meanwhile Steve caught up with Kieran and the Gord. So yeah, he's really quick on those mediums, and I wonder if he can overtake Kieran and take the battle to run.
Absolutely. Let's see if he can get past... Yeah, like you said, see if he can get past Kieran. Kieran's still stuck behind Gort, so Gort's staying out for the time being. Kieran, a big sideways moment there in the middle of the chicane. Just about collects the car, but that's going to get Steve right onto the back of him, and Steve's going to be thinking that this is his best opportunity to get past pretty early, get it done as soon as possible, and pounce when the opportunity comes. Let's see if he goes on the overtake. He does. He's on the overtake as soon as he gets out of the hairpin, but it looks like he might not be close enough to Kieran to challenge down into the chicane. Kieran has overtake on and DRS to defend against him, so Steve, I think, is going to stay behind for the time being. Mark, meanwhile, continues on for another lap, so it looks like he is trying to get to the soft stint at the end. I think Gort might be doing the same. Steve takes a lot of curb there, and Kieran hit the wall coming out of the Wall of Champions, but it hasn't picked up any damage. He gets away with it. He's very lucky to do so, but Gort is actually re-catching Tijonas now, even though his tyres are 2 laps older and a set softer. Tijonas, after passing Gort, hasn't pulled away. So once again, the hard tyres, they looked good for a few laps, but it looks like they've reached another phase in this race where they've lost all their speed.
Yeah, it took quite a while to properly warm them up and get speed in those tires. And now, what you said, it's just dropping off a bit. So yeah, maybe after all, it isn't the tire to go for. But the other thing is, I don't know what the state of the tires are. But if he doesn't have to pit, it won't cost him. What is it? Pit here, 25 seconds.
I think it's
22?
actually it's quite a bit less than that, because obviously you missed the
Really?
final chicane and the first two corners here. I think it's only around 17 or so seconds you lose in a pit stop by the time you get to turn 2. So I think it is 22 seconds in the pit lane, but then you miss obviously a lot of corners here. Mark into the pit lane at the end of lap 25. Let's see if he goes for the soft tyres, or does he go for a fresh set of mediums to push right to the end. It's a set of softs, so Mark is going for something a little bit different here. Let's see if it can work for him. He'll probably come out just behind Simply Superman, I imagine, or maybe just ahead of him. Gort's come in at the same time as well to do the same strategy. So where does Mark come out? Mark actually, I think, might be ahead of Simply Superman. He's going to be coming out of the line now. Simply Superman's only just past the start-finish line. So yeah, Mark, with the momentum through turn 1 and 2, it's going to be close, but I think he will just be ahead. He is, yeah, Mark is just ahead of Simply Superman, so he's back out into 7th place. He's got 5 seconds up to Birchett in front, who has just been passed by Isotopic, so he's got a lot of ground to push into and push forwards, so he can set fastest lap and catch the guys in front. Look out for Mark to maybe get back into the top 5 with a good final stint.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you can see it now. Every corner it's 1 or 2 tenths he's winning on Bertje on the hard tires, and Bertje isn't that far off Isotopic. So yeah, it's just gonna. Obviously, I think it's gonna take him 4 laps, maybe less, and he's there.
Yeah, I won't be long. Look, he's like to say it's already taken a second out of him in the middle sector alone. He's absolutely flying. He's dropped Simply Superman. Oh, Steve! Steve has left the session. That's such a shame. Hopefully he can rejoin and get back in that car. He's running in a net P2. Hopefully he can get back in and retake control of that car. Meanwhile, he got past Kieran before that, and he was just caught onto the back of Tejonis. That's given Tejonis a breather in 2nd place now. But Steve, at the moment, he's not in his car, so let's see if he can rejoin. Migrating host with someone else leaving the session as well. Mark has left the session. So I wonder if we've got maybe a bit of a problem in the lobby. That'd be such a shame if we do have some sort of problem. But Mark has now left the session as well, unfortunately. So that's our strategy. Is not really going to work now that he's not in the lobby. So he's spared, really. Birch is spared in 6th place on those hard tyres. Kieran's really struggling. Kieran's repassed Steve's AI car, but Kieran before that was really struggling to keep the car on the road. He's just picked up 2 more time penalties in the space of 3 laps. He's back up into 3rd, but that's going to drop him a number of places, those penalties. And yeah, 2 big names in this race. Steve and Mark have both left the session.
Yeah, they were doing really, really good. So really unfortunate for them to leave. I hope, really hope they can rejoin. Because Mark was catching Bertje really, really fast. And Steve was doing a great job as well, driving around in the net P2.
Yeah.
Overtaking
Here comes
Kieran,
Isotopic meanwhile. Sorry to cut in there. Isotopic down the inside of Kieran. Isotopic has ERS in save there, and he breezes past before the chicane. Kieran didn't fight that one. I think Kieran knows he doesn't quite have the pace, but Kieran has 90% ERS to defend with, so bizarre he didn't use any at all. But Isotopic back up onto the podium places. He's back up to 3rd, but he's 2.8 seconds behind Tejonis at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a task for him to catch. Let's see if he can do so and see what the penalty situation is like for Isotopic compared to Tejonis. But even if this hard tyres in this strategy aren't very good, as Kieran picks up another time penalty, if the hard tyre strategy isn't the best one to do, the fact that Tejonis is in 2nd place at the moment is a brilliant result from him from starting 13th on the grid.
Yeah, that's just imagine if he would have done a normal strategy on the soft medium or medium soft. He would be really making Mashiro's life hard today, probably.
Definitely, and it's just such a shame really that he struggles so much in qualifying, because qualifying at the front he could have really battled Mashiro for the race win, but ultimately starting 13th has cost him an opportunity to do so. But at this point in the race, Tejonis will take the lead of the championship for the next round. It's 25 points for a 2nd place finish, and it's a 20-point gap between him and F1 AMG, who is not here today. So Tejonis in prime position to take the lead of the championship. Looking further down the field, Kieran's is staying with Isotopic. It's only 0.3 of a second. He's still on the back of him. Simply Superman picks up a time penalty as Jan's now left the session, but he's already DNF from the session, I believe. So he's just left the session. He was down in 15th and DNF from fairly early on. Kieran holding onto the back of Isotopic. Birch has actually caught these guys now in the Haas. So once again, we said this pretty much all season. Birch has, I don't think, Birch is basically cursed. I think there's a witch's curse on Burt because he just seems to finish 4th in every single race. And he's now 5th, running, I think, with maybe no penalties at all. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that one, but he definitely has a low amount, if none at all. And running in 5th, he could actually steal a first podium here.
Yeah, but we were talking about this before the race as well. Bircher is not really, it's not really an eye-catching driver here, but he just delivers in the race. His qualifying as well was just pretty bad. You could say pretty bad, but in the race, I don't know how he does it. He's staying below the radar somehow, but he just has good results, and it's because of that is in the Q3, the championship.
Absolutely, yeah. Mark's AI car, meanwhile, is diving into the pit lane, so that is such a shame if Mark rejoins that his car's come into the pits, unfortunately, so he's going to drop places. Steve is about to be passed by Simply Superman now as well. His AI car's about to be passed, so they're dropping further down the field. But yeah, Birch is the kind of driver where we don't really pay attention to him in the race, and then with 5 laps to go, you go, oh, where on earth has Bircher come from? He's in the top 5. It seems to happen at every race so far this season, and it's put him 3rd in the championship. And a result this high up the field will put him even closer to the lead of the championship standings. He's 15 points behind Jonas coming into this round, and 25 points behind our championship leader. He will definitely close in quite a lot. As now Simply Superman's left the session. It does look like we have some sort of problem. Maybe there's a Codemaster server problem that's causing these people to leave. But yet again, another person inside the top 10 has left the session.
Yeah, what could I say? Yeah, just another one to put down on the list. I think it's too many people left for not being a server issue or something.
Yeah, definitely.
It destroys the race. I mean, it was such a good race. All these guys were doing great, and yeah, now almost half the field left.
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember who it is on Twitter that's running a list of glitches with the Codemaster glitches and problems with the Codemasters game. I think it's Ash Best, so we might have to send this to him so that he can post it. So add it to the list of the growing list of problems with the game at the moment. It's a shame to see because it does really affect the racing that we have so far. To have 3 people maybe challenging that could have challenged for a podium today to all leave the session prematurely is such a shame. It's put Gort though back into P6. He's the only person on the soft tyres at the moment, but he's got 7 seconds to make up to catch Bircher in front, so I don't imagine we'll see Gort any higher than 6th at this point in the race. Focky, meanwhile, after a pretty poor race for him, will work his way up into 7th place, passing for Superman and Steve's AI cars. Caesar may work his way forwards as well because of these problems for other people, so he'll work his way back further into the top 10, which is good for him. He's had he's had obviously a race win this season, but other than that, it's been a poor season so far for Caesar, so he'll be happy to be scoring at least some decent points today.
Yeah. Oh, there's a time penalty. I thought he left the session as well, but it's just a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, he does. They had one great race around Vietnam, I believe, Caesar and Mark. We expected a lot of them, so yeah, this is their opportunity to bounce back now a little bit.
Yeah, it is definitely Caesar's. Obviously, Mark not in the session. That is such a shame that he's not going to be picking up as many points as he would have liked in this one. Sean picks up another time penalty in this race. I think that might be his 4th or 5th in this one. Since the midpoint of the race, it's really not gone Sean's way, unfortunately. He looked set to maybe be in the mid-top 10 for this race. It's not gone his way, but there's a lot of positives that Sean can take away from this one. He's shown very, very good pace. We're coming towards lap 33. We haven't really spoken about our race leader since the midpoint in this race, since he pitted. Mishiro's been out in front on his own. He's not really come under any pressure. He's now over 10 seconds clear of Jonas. This is almost an F1 AMG-esque performance for Mishiro, because F1 AMG, the races he's won this season have been utterly dominant, and Mishiro, once again, in a class of his own, out in front, and this is finally the race that he's been wanting all season.
Yeah, finally a clean race for him. He showed pace in every race he has driven in so far in the league. Yeah, finally a clean one. It's not over yet, so I don't hope I curse him now, or we curse him. Yeah, just great driving from him. Went for the safe bet for the medium tires on his last stint, not trying anything crazy. Just great performance from him.
Yeah, really, really good performance. A dominant performance in the end from him. He's 10 seconds clear to Jonas. Like we said, to Jonas, Isotopic, after passing Kieran, has gapped Kieran but hasn't caught to Jonas. So Isotopic doesn't look like he quite has the pace to catch to Jonas for second place. So at this point, it does look like Jonas is going to take the lead of the championship. He's got just enough pace on those hard tyres to hold on to second place for the time being. Further down, Bircher is slightly catching Kieran for fourth on the road, but it's not close enough to pounce at the moment. He's not within DRS range. Gort is catching these guys as well, but again, still too far back, really, to get close enough to the guys in front before the end of the race. There's only 2 laps to go when they cross the line, so he'll have to be at least 2.5 seconds a lap faster to have a go at passing Bert. Caesar now has passed Steve and Superman's AI cars. He's now up into 8th place, and he's only 4.8 seconds behind Focky and catching quite quickly. So Caesar could catch Focky before the end of the race, depending on how fast Caesar is or how much Focky struggles towards the end. But at this point, it's kind of lowered it. The race has lowered its tempo here. We're kind of coming towards the end of the race, and actually, as we come towards the end of the race, it's just started raining.
Really?
It really has. Yeah, it's just started raining. Lap 34. The rain's coming down. I don't know how heavy the rain is going to be. If it absolutely chucks it down, that's going to be a crazy end to the race on the next lap. If it chucks it down and people have absolutely no grip, it looks very light, so they might get away with it with not really any problems at all. But just as we thought that this race wasn't going to be any crazier, the rain starts coming down with 2 laps to go. They're lucky that they didn't get a full safety car in this race, because we could have had the last 3 or so laps in the intermediate conditions.
Yeah, and especially for the guys who are driving around on the hardest compound, it's going to be such a struggle. I mean, just try that, intermediate conditions, and just drive around with 23 lap old hard tires.
Yeah, that would be so difficult, and it already looks like Jonas is struggling. Jonas has no ERS, and Isotopic has taken a second out of him in the last lap, so Isotopic's upped his pace and is trying to close down to Jonas and take second place on the road. Whether he'll keep second place in terms of penalties is another thing, but at least have the opportunity to get ahead of him if Jonas picks one up on the final lap. So Jonas has got enough of a gap at the moment. It's 0.8 of a second as they come down to the chicane. Does Isotopic have a good run through the final chicane? Nishiro starts the final lap of this race. A little bit of understeer there in the first part of the chicane. Isotopic doesn't get the best run, but Jonas hits the grass as well, so he's lost a bit of time. It's only half a second as they cross the line. Isotopic is closing in. Look how late on the brakes Isotopic was for turn 1. He took 2.5 tenths out of Jonas just in the braking zone for turn 1, and Jonas is sliding all over the road coming out of turn 1. You can tell that the grip has gone from the track because they're really struggling for traction. And obviously Jonas on 24 lap old hard tyres is going to be struggling the most. Can Isotopic maybe get past down this next DRS straight? Can he get the traction coming out of the corner? Does Jonas slide? Jonas very, very neat. Doesn't push the car, isn't sliding too much. Isotopic not quite close enough to pounce. We'll have to wait and see whether he can get it done coming out of the hairpin. Maybe we'll still ride on board with Isotopic coming out of the hairpin, see how close he is. Jonas still really struggling for traction, but is keeping it nice and neat, keeping it on the racing line, not struggling too much now, just holding on. Isotopic should be close enough though down the straight. He has the ERS to attack. Jonas doesn't really have much to defend with. Jonas very, very slow on the exit of the corner. Isotopic on the overtake button. Does he have the speed to get past? Mashiro's coming through the final corner. We'll run to Mashiro as he crosses the line. Mashiro, what a dominant performance from the Red Bull man. Finally able to get to the front of the field. His first podium, and his first podium of the season. Isotopic round the outside towards the chicane. He gets the move done. He gets the move done before the chicane onto Jonas. Does he keep it on the road in terms of penalties? Isotopic to come across the line to finish second on the road, and he keeps second in the end. Jonas and Isotopic had the same amount of penalties, so Isotopic steals second on the final lap. Jonas third, Bircher fourth for the 4th time this season. Got into 5th ahead of Kieran, down to 6th after picking up a number of penalties at the end. Focky goes 5th in the other Haas car. Good result for Haas in the end. He picked up maybe not even any penalties at all, and he's jumped both Gort and Kieran. Caesar in 8th. Steve is going to jump him on penalties, but he's in AI, and Simply Superman crosses the line at the same time as well, as does Sean. But in the end, Mashiro wins, and it's, yeah, what a finish there, and what a final lap. Jonas loses second in the final corner of the lap.
Yeah, he was really struggling on those hard tires and on a obviously wetter course now with the rain. But yeah, great last lap, last corner actually maneuver from him.
Yeah, that was really, really, really good stuff. Good stuff from Isotopic. That's his second podium of the season. Isotopic is really throwing himself into championship contention here with some really, really decent performances, good pace, and consistent running. He's throwing himself into the championship battle, as now is Mashiro. He's thrown himself forward in the championship with another good result. Bircher finishing 4th again and scoring good points. Jonas finishing 3rd on the road with no fastest lap means that Jonas and F1 AMG are going to be equal on points going into the next round. Round 6, 5 rounds done, and the top 2 will be equal on points. That just goes to show how close it is this season. But Mashiro it is that wins ahead of Isotopic, the 1-2 in qualifying, keep 1-2 in the end in the race. So Jonathan 13th on the grid comes 3rd. Bircher from 15th on the grid. The final row ends up in 4th. What a result from him. Focky in 5th, ahead of Gort in 6th. Kieran in 7th from last on the grid, having not set a time in qualifying, but he had 20 seconds worth of penalties. He picked up a lot towards the end. Steve's AI car in 8th, ahead of Caesar in 9th, and Simply Superman left the session as well. He was in 10th, ahead of Sean in 11th. What could have been for him? He had 27 seconds worth of penalties in the end. And Mark in 12th place. He obviously left the session early as well. Jay Bogan did as well. Flores bound in 14th after a poor race for him. And Jan and Lighty did not finish the race after finishing on the podium last time out. Jan couldn't finish here. Bit of a crazy race in the end. A lot of things going on. But in the end, Mashiro utterly dominated.
Yeah, really. I mean, overall, it's been a great race today. Really enjoyable. Too bad a couple of guys just had, I think, a glitch and dropped out of the lobby. But overall, great race, and finally the result Mashiro was hoping for today.
Finally, yeah. Hopefully this can maybe kickstart his championship. It's been a bit of a slow start to the season, but now that he's got that under his belt, he'll be a lot more confident going into the second round. Then the 6th round of the season. You can tell where my brain's at the moment after that race. I'm thinking it's the first round of the season, but no, it'll be obviously the 6th round of the season next time out. Next time out, we head to Austria, so a really, really good track for racing. One of a track that a lot of people have driven already this season. A lot of people have been driving it for social races before the season started. Going into Austria, is it a round you're looking forward to?
Me personally, driving, not commentating on, yes.
Definitely, yeah. I would agree with you on that one. I think Austria to commentate over is a great one, but to drive, for me personally, is it's a bit of a pain. It's definitely it's an easy track to learn, but a difficult track to master. So we'll have to wait and see who comes out on top in Austria. Before we finish off today, though, I think I can probably guess who you're gonna give it to, but who do you think your driver of the day is today?
Can I pick 2 or?
Go for it.
Only 1. Yeah, 2. Okay, yeah. Well, Mashiro, no penalties, qualified P1 and finished P1. Kind of the boring choice, but yeah, hopefully it kickstarts his season from here. And Batcha.
Absolutely,
great again.
Yeah, that is a brilliant result. That is a brilliant result from Virtue, from 15th on the grid, having a poor qualifying, work his way up to 4th again. And Mashiro as well. I probably agree with you with the driver of the days today. I don't think there's really anyone else that can take it. Jojonis did a good job in this one, but ultimately Jojonis really struggled to have the outright speed to really challenge at the front. His one stop worked for him in the end, but he lost second on the final lap to Isotopic. So he comes home in 3rd, and he'll be equal lead in the championship with FLMG going into the next round. But thank you once again, Conti, for joining me in the comms box as always. It's great to have you in here. So it's been a great season so far. I've been keeping a tally as well of how many times I've said absolutely in this race. I think I'm gonna get roasted. I'm gonna get roasted on Twitter after this one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely roasted. Yeah. Have to keep a tally next time. It's a drinking game for the next stream. If I say absolutely, you have to take a shot. And don't blame me if you have to go to the hospital to get your stomach pumped. But anyway, yeah, next week is round 6 at Austria, obviously same time next week, so look forward to that. Rest of the week is obviously Division 4 and 5 tomorrow for Canada. Fingers crossed Codemasters service issues are gone by then. Apparently Division 2 did have a mass disconnect during their race, so it does look like it was some sort of server issue on Codemasters' end. So fingers crossed that is resolved for tomorrow for Division 4 and 5. I don't know if you're racing tomorrow, Conti, are you, for Canada?
I am.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, good luck to you, Conti, for tomorrow. Fingers crossed
Thank you.
Hopefully it goes swimmingly well. Hopefully you have a Mashiro type of race. No bias from me, but hopefully you have a Mashiro kind of race. And then, obviously, Saturday and Sunday is the final round of the CLC Championships for LMP3 on Saturday, and IndyCar on Sunday at 8 o'clock, as per the rest of the schedule for the week. And then next week, it's obviously TTML Formula 2 is back after a week off for the Esports Masters League yesterday, which was great fun to watch. If you haven't watched it yet, go back and watch the streams for both League 1 and the Premier League. They were really, really good races. They run once a month. We'll be back for that on the 30th of September. But Formula 2 is back next week on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Myself and Luke Etheridge will be taking you through the coverage next Wednesday. But once again, yeah, thank you for joining me, Conti. Thank you everyone for watching, for commenting on the stream. Thank you everyone for taking part in the race. And we will see you again this time next week at Austria. Goodbye.